Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another quick video. And many people have always asked me and been asking me, what are my top 5 favorite Stephen King novels? Well, I couldn't come up with a top 5, but I did come up with a top 3. So today I want to do a quick video on what I am liking to call the good, the bad, and the meh. My top 3 favorite Stephen King novels, my top 3 most hated Stephen King novels, and 3 Stephen King novels that I didn't like when I first read them, but I want to go back and reread them to see if my opinion on them has changed. So first, we're going to start with the good, the 3 good. And coming in at number 3 is going to be the book that started it all for me, and what I still consider to be the quintessential vampire novel, and that would be Salem's Lot by Stephen King. So it was the first Stephen King book I read. This is the gateway drug for me. This is what got me into King and horror and vampires. And I still believe that even though this is more or less Dracula set in Maine, this is still the best and written and quintessential vampire novel out there. Coming in at number 2, quite possibly the scariest Stephen King story that he has ever written, the brutally horrifying Pet Sematary. This is almost a perfect novel. All the way down from the characters to the setting to the events to what happens. This is a truly terrifying novel, and this does come in at number 2 on my top 3. And coming in at number 1, which is absolutely no surprise to anybody who has watched my videos or has seen any of them or has talked to me, coming in at number 1, my favorite Stephen King novel of all time would be It. I did a 25-minute video on why I love It, if you're interested to check that out and listen to me ramble for 25 minutes about the phenomenal masterpiece by Stephen King. Now, on to the bad. Onto the 3 most hated Stephen King novels that I have, or that I've read. And you will notice a trend here that I do not own any of these books. I read them once, and I don't own them, and I have no intention of owning them. I have no intention of ever owning them. So, coming in no particular order, we're going to start with number 3. We're going to start with Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. This was a travesty of a book. I hated it. I didn't like any of it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the story. I just thought it was too long. I just thought it was not well written and not a good story. And I honestly don't know who to blame. Who do you blame for this book? How much of this book is Stephen King and how much of this book is Owen King? I have no idea, but I don't like it. And I honestly believe deep down in my heart of hearts that this was a book written by Owen Hart, that Stephen King just decided to stick his name on it so that Owen Hart could sell more copies. And I really believe that, and I know that's, that may sound elitist or whatever, but I honestly think that's what happened. Coming in at number 2 is Stephen King's Cell. This is the only book by Stephen King that Stephen King has written that I have never finished. Didn't finish it. Got about halfway through and just stopped because I disliked it that much. Now, it was no secret back in the time that this was written that Stephen King hated cell phones. And he thought that cell phones were turning people into metaphorical zombies. So he decided to write a book where cell phones turn people into literal zombies, and we've got a plague caused by cell phones. And I didn't like this book at all, and I don't own it, and I didn't finish it, and I have no idea how it ends, and I have no intention of going back and picking it up and trying to reread it. So I am very sorry for everyone who wanted a review of Cell on my channel, but unfortunately, you're probably most likely not going to get one. And this is as close to a review of that book as you're ever going to get, because I have no intention of picking it up and finishing it. And then coming in at number 3 is Stephen King's Elevation. I don't know what to say about this book. I really don't. It's short, and even at 100 pages long, it's still too much. This was a book that I read that when it came out, and I read it, and I put it down, and I immediately thought, what in the actual fuck are you trying to say here? What is this book about? I honestly believe it's 100 pages of virtue signaling, and I have no idea where he was going with it or what his thought process was in writing it, but I hated it. It's probably my most hated Stephen King book, and I have no intention of buying that one or any of the other 2 that I have mentioned. And now, coming in at my 3 most, my three mez. And these are 3 books that I have read, and that I didn't like when I read them, but I want to read them again and see if my opinion has changed. So first one would be Stephen King's Bag of Bones. I read Bag of Bones once. I didn't like it when it came out. I didn't like it. I've never read it again, but I've heard many good things about it. Other people seem to like it, so I want to reread it to see if maybe I've missed something and if my opinion has changed. The next one that's on that list that I want to reread that I didn't like, but I want to see if that's going to change, is Stephen King's Liseys Story. This is a highly regarded book by many people, including Stephen King himself. They have all enjoyed this book immensely. I think Stephen King said this might be his favorite novel that he's written. And lots of people love it, but I also see in the reviews that there's a very sort of love-hate relationship with this book. You either love it or you hate it. I didn't like it when it first came out, and I read it, but I do want to try it again to see if that opinion has changed. And the final book in this category would be Stephen King's Duma. Again, comes highly regarded. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people hate it, although I find that to be the majority of most Stephen King works. But I didn't like it when it first came out as much as his other stuff. I read it once, and maybe it's time to revisit these 3 novels and see if my opinion has changed. Maybe I was just in a weird headspace at the time, or maybe now that I'm a little older, my viewpoint may have changed. So I think I want to reread those 3 and see if my opinion on them is any different than it was. So guys, that is a short video on the good, the bad, and the meh. 3 King books I loved, 3 King books I hated, and 3 King books I want to revisit. So I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell, share it around, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and until next time, I will see you in the next video.